I don't really know how to start this. Maybe with the moment everything went quiet. Like the world hit mute. Like I was underwater. And all I could hear was my own heartbeat slamming in my ears. That's what it felt like when Brendan Moore, who I'd never even had a full conversation with, slid that paper across the table and said, "This isn't personal, Harper. It's just a realignment of priorities." Not personal. I stared at the number printed on that sheet. $61,200. Half of what I'd been making for the past 6 years. No explanation, no negotiation, just effective immediately. I didn't cry. Not there anyway. I smiled, actually smiled, and said, "Thanks. I'll need 24 hours to consider." Like a damn robot. Like I hadn't just been gutted by the company I gave 12 years of my life to. My name's Harper Lynn. I'm 38, a single mom to an incredible 11-year-old boy named Mason. I live in Seattle. And until last Tuesday, I was the director of client services at Arcadia Freight, a company that, once upon a time, felt like home. I joined Arcadia back when we were still in a cramped office above a tire shop. No AC in summer. Leaky ceiling in the break room. But we were building something real. Something human. Back then, Gavin was still CEO. He knew every employee by name. He interviewed me personally, looked me in the eye, and said, "We don't just hire skills. We hire grit. You've got it." I worked my ass off. Nights, weekends, skipped birthdays and soccer games. I believed in what we were doing. I believed that if I showed up and gave it everything, I'd be protected, respected, seen. And for a while, I was. I rose from customer support to regional manager to director. I handled our top-tier contracts, companies that brought in nearly 40% of Arcadia's revenue. When they called, they asked for me by name. I didn't just manage accounts. I managed trust. Then Gavin sold the company. He said it was time for the next stage of growth. Said we were in good hands. That was the last time I ever heard from him. The new parent company, Bolstra Holdings, kept things quiet at first. New branding, new leadership, more meetings, less heart. Gavin's office was cleared out in under 48 hours. Then came the consultants. Then the buzzwords. Data-led restructuring. Efficiency mapping. Resource optimization. What they meant was, people like me cost too much. They cut our team from 12 to 7. Then 5. Then 3. Every time someone disappeared, there was a mass email full of vague praise and wishes for the future. But I held on. I took on their clients, their workloads, their stress. Because I believed if I stayed long enough, worked hard enough, they couldn't cut me. They needed me. At least that's what I told myself. So when I walked into that meeting Tuesday morning and saw Brendan, Mr. Harvard MBA, synergy guru, sitting across from Lizette from HR, I knew something was wrong. He didn't even look up, just gestured toward the folder. "This is a company-wide adjustment, not a reflection of your performance." Performance? My performance was the reason we landed the Delmont account, the reason Grady Logistics didn't walk during the pandemic, the reason 3 of our 5 largest clients were still with us. But sure, cut my pay by 50%, strip me of my title, call it realignment. Lizette wouldn't even meet my eyes. She just said, "We hope you'll stay on through the transition. If not, we understand. Translation, train your replacement, then leave quietly." I sat there frozen, not angry, not sad, just hollow. Until one thought crashed through the fog. They really think I won't fight back. And right then, something inside me snapped back into place. Not because I wanted to stay, but because I knew exactly who I was going to call as soon as I got back to my car. Her name was Samira. She used to sit 3 desks down from me. And now she's VP at our biggest competitor. And last time we talked, she said, "If you ever get tired of being the only grown-up in the room, call me." I was about to. I don't even remember walking out of that room. I must have nodded, thanked them for the opportunity because that's what polite women do when they're being gutted. We smile, we nod. We don't burn the building down, even when every bone in our body is screaming that we should. But the second the door closed behind me, I couldn't hold it together. I walked to the parking garage in a daze, my heels clicking too loud on the concrete. Every step felt like it echoed, like the whole place was watching, judging, laughing. By the time I made it to my car, my hands were shaking so bad I couldn't even get the key in. I sat in the driver's seat, locked the door, and just came apart. Ugly crying. The kind of crying that wrecks your face, that heaves out of your chest like a wave you can't fight. I had to stuff my scarf in my mouth to muffle the sound, not because I cared who heard, but because I didn't want Mason to ever see me like this. That parking garage became my confessional. I thought about everything I'd sacrificed. Birthdays, field trips, parent-teacher conferences I had to attend over Zoom because I couldn't reschedule with a client. All the nights I told Mason, "Just let me finish this one thing, baby, then we'll do your science project." All the mornings I left before he was awake. For what? So a guy in a blazer and Bluetooth earpiece could decide I wasn't worth full salary anymore? They knew. They knew my situation. That I was a single mom. That Mason's cluster headaches required monthly treatments my insurance barely covered. That my mortgage wasn't some luxury. It was the only roof my son had ever known. They didn't just cut my pay. They shoved me toward a cliff and watched to see if I'd jump or beg. And that's when I remembered Samira. She'd left Arcadia a year ago, right after the buyout, before the consultants took over. Smart woman. We used to share lunch breaks and war stories, whispering about clients who didn't read their own contracts or execs who thought being nice counted as leadership. A few months ago, she texted me out of nowhere. "Just checking in. Hope they're treating you okay. If not, my door's always open." At the time, I brushed it off. I was still deep in the loyalty delusion. But now I had nothing left to be loyal to. With mascara streaked halfway down my cheeks and my throat still raw, I pulled out my phone and called her. She answered on the second ring. "Harper?" she said, surprised. "Are you okay?" I couldn't even fake a normal tone. "Not really," I whispered. They slashed my salary by half and called it a realignment. Said I should feel lucky I still have a job. She was quiet for a moment and then, "You need to check your LinkedIn inbox. I sent you something last week." "What is it?" "My company, Freightwell. We're building out our client engagement team. I told my boss you'd be perfect. He asked if you were available." I stared out the windshield, watching a leaf spin in lazy circles under the fluorescent garage lights. "They're gonna sue me if I leave," I muttered. "Did you sign a non-compete?" Number Arcadia never updated our contracts after the merger. "Then they've got nothing." Her voice sharpened. "Harper, I'm serious. My boss wants to talk to you. Not just about a job, about a strategic role. Salary's way higher, full benefits. He knows what you bring." I didn't respond right away. Not because I wasn't interested, but because it hit me all at once how far I'd let them drag me. How low my expectations had gotten. I was sitting there sobbing over a 50% pay cut, thinking maybe I still owed them something. Why? Because I'd stayed? Loyalty doesn't mean you die on a burning ship. It means you tried. And I had. "Can you set up a meeting?" I asked quietly. "With your boss. Today. Please." "I already told him you might call," she said. "He'll clear his calendar. Can you be at the bistro on 5th at 8 a.m. tomorrow?" "I'll be there." I hung up, leaned my head back against the seat, and exhaled for what felt like the first time in hours. Then I did something I hadn't done in years. I opened my old employment contract, scanned every clause, and my hands started to tremble again. Not from fear, from clarity. Because right there in section 6.2, plain as day, it said, "In the event of a compensation reduction exceeding 25%, the employee may terminate employment immediately without obligation of transition or notice." They hadn't just disrespected me. They'd given me a way out. I didn't sleep that night. Not really. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, the room lit only by Mason's glow-in-the-dark solar system stickers. I watched Saturn pulse faintly above me and kept replaying that moment in the parking garage. Brendan's smug voice. Lizette's silence. That damn paper. 50%. Like my life could be cleanly divided down the middle and only half of it was worth keeping. But what kept me awake wasn't the insult. It was the clarity. Because for the first time in months, I wasn't trapped. I wasn't begging for scraps. I had something they didn't expect. A lifeline. At 7:45 the next morning, I walked into the bistro on 5th wearing the suit I'd saved for closing big deals. Hair curled, makeup on point. Not for them. For me. Jonas Vega spotted me from the corner booth. He stood to shake my hand, firm and direct. "Harper Lynn," he said, smiling. "Samira's told me a lot, most of it impressive, some of it terrifying." "Only the good kind of terrifying, I hope," I said. My voice sounded steadier than I felt. Samira was already seated beside him, coffee half drunk, eyes twinkling like she knew something I didn't. Probably because she did. We ordered. Jonas skipped the small talk. "Let's get to it," he said. "We've been trying to pry clients away from Arcadia for years, and every time we hit the same wall. You." I blinked. "Me?" He nodded. "We lost the Portland logistics account because they didn't want to lose you. Same with Holloway Freight. We even offered them a 15% rate cut, and they said, 'We trust Harper more than we trust discounts.'" My throat tightened. I'd always wondered if those relationships really mattered. Turns out they did. Jonas slid a folder across the table. His own little full circle moment. Inside, Director of Client Strategy, Freightwell, base salary, $158,000, 20% annual bonus, full benefits. Signing bonus, $25,000, remote flexibility. Start date. As soon as you're ready, I stared at the number. It wasn't just generous. It was validating. Wow, I said. "This is a lot." Jonas didn't flinch. "It's what you're worth." I looked at Samira, who nodded like, "See? I told you." And that's when Jonas said it. "Arcadia's making a move. We have it from a reliable source. They're offshoring the client team to Manila by the end of the year. Quietly, no severance. They're using salary cuts to push people out before the transition." My stomach dropped. So that was the plan. Cut us down, bleed us out, then replace us before anyone could fight back. "Who's your source?" I asked. Jonas glanced at Samira. She shrugged. "You remember Sean? He was on your team 2 years ago before moving to supply chain?" I nodded. "He's now at Telmar, one of our partners. Guess who Arcadia just hired to restructure operations?" I didn't even have to guess. "Brendan." Jonas nodded. "He ran the exact same playbook at Telmar. Cut costs, eliminate roles, rebrand it as growth. Then ghost." The pieces slammed into place. That smug look on Brendan's face, the vague answers, the silence from HR. They weren't realigning me. They were phasing me out. And the worst part? I almost let them. I almost stayed. Almost trained my own replacement. Almost smiled through it. Jonas leaned in. "We don't want you as a cog, Harper. We want you to build something with us. Your reputation speaks for itself. We're not just hiring talent. We're hiring trust." I looked at that folder again, and then I made a decision I never thought I'd make. "I want to come by the office," I said. "Meet your team, ask a few questions." Jonas smiled. "Of course." We finished breakfast. Samira paid before I could argue. And then, just as I stood to leave, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I hesitated, then picked up. "Ms. Lynn?" the voice said. Crisp, cold, familiar. "This is Erin Cole, legal counsel for Arcadia Freight. I'm calling to remind you that sharing client information with a competitor could be considered a breach of contract. I froze. Excuse me? We've been made aware that you're entertaining offers from Freightwell. I'd advise extreme caution. Any misstep could result in litigation. I didn't respond, just stared at the phone, pulse pounding. They knew. They were watching. And they were scared. I didn't answer Erin Cole. Not at first. I let her legal-sounding warning sit there in the air, cold and rehearsed, like she'd said it 100 times before to people who folded the second they heard the word litigation. But I wasn't folding. Not this time. Hi, Erin, I said calmly. Just to clarify, are you accusing me of stealing company data? There was a pause. Just long enough to confirm she didn't expect pushback. I'm simply reminding you of your obligations as a former employee, she said, should you decide to leave. Ah, so they didn't know for sure. They were fishing, bluffing. I haven't accepted anything yet, I said. And for the record, I haven't shared a single document, spreadsheet, client list, or internal file with anyone. Another beat of silence. Then, we appreciate your discretion. Discretion. Like this was some kind of affair I was supposed to be ashamed of. I hung up without saying goodbye. They were nervous, that was clear. But they still thought I was afraid. That I'd cower at the first whiff of legal pressure. They didn't know I'd read my contract 3 times already. Backward. In 2 lighting conditions. Highlighted, annotated, bookmarked. They didn't know I helped write part of that contract during the Gavin years. Back when Arcadia actually cared about people. They forgot who they were dealing with. I was done being the quiet one in the meeting. The fixer in the background. The bridge everyone walked on and never thanked. No more. That afternoon, I sent a short, polite email to Brendan and Lizette requesting a formal meeting at 9 a.m. the next day to discuss the revised compensation plan. I CC'd HR compliance, just for fun. Then I printed out everything. My original offer letter. The highlighted clause about pay reductions. My performance reports. A list of the clients who'd specifically requested me on their contracts. I didn't sleep much again that night, but not because of fear. This time it was focus, strategy, controlled fury. At 8:58 the next morning, I walked into the same glass-walled conference room where they tried to gut me 2 days earlier. Brendan was already there, looking bored. Lizette had that neutral HR face on, eyes blank, lips tight. Let's keep this quick, Brendan said, not even bothering to greet me. Have you reached a decision? I sat down, calm, collected. Yes, I said, but I have a few things to clarify first. He leaned back, smug. We've already explained the transition plan. No, I said, setting my folder on the table. You explained your decision. I'm here to explain mine. I laid out the documentation slowly, deliberately. This is my contract. This clause here, 6.2, states that in the event of a pay reduction exceeding 25%, I'm entitled to immediate resignation without notice or transition requirement. Brendan frowned slightly. I'd also like to remind you, I continued, that my original contract, signed pre-acquisition, has never been formally renegotiated. You can't have it both ways. You can't ignore the parts that protect me while enforcing the ones that benefit you. Lizette shifted uncomfortably. I've met my obligations, I said. And as of today, I'm resigning. Effective immediately. Brendan blinked. That's not how this works. We expect a 2-week transition. No, I said. You hoped I wouldn't know my rights? But I do. He sat up straighter. You'll be blacklisted, Harper. You understand that, right? You walk out like this and this industry will remember. I smiled for the first time. Really smiled. Funny, I said. Because Jonas Vega just made me an offer. And from what I've heard, Freightwell doesn't care about Arcadia's blacklist. Brendan's face went pale. You're going to Freightwell? Lizette said, voice almost a whisper. That's confidential company information, I said, mirroring their tone from 2 days earlier. But thank you for your concern. I stood, gathered my folder, and walked to the door, then paused. Oh, and one more thing. I turned, looked Brendan dead in the eye. 3 of the top 5 clients you assigned me? They already know I'm leaving. I didn't have to tell them. They noticed. They reached out. You might want to check your inbox. Brendan shot to his laptop like his chair was on fire. And then, it happened. Lizette's phone buzzed. She picked it up and her face drained of color. What? Brendan snapped. She looked up. West Rock Freight just canceled their Q4 renewal. He stared at her. Then his laptop dinged. Again. And again. I walked out before he could say a word. By the time I got back to my car, my phone was blowing up. 3 missed calls from West Rock. 2 emails from Alder Freight. A text from Sonia Chang, VP of Ops at Bristol Shipping, just saying, call me. Now. I sat there behind the wheel, letting it all sink in. They'd spent months trying to erase me quietly, strip away my title, my pay, my place. Like I was a name they could just delete from the org chart. But the people they thought wouldn't notice, they noticed. And they were pissed. That afternoon, I met Jonas and Samira at Freightwell's downtown office. They gave me a tour, introduced me to the leadership team, showed me the space they'd already cleared out for my department. My department. I'd barely sat down when Jonas said, "We've decided to move fast on the client outreach. You know who to call. Say whatever you feel comfortable saying, but the timing's right." I didn't have to cold call a single person. I opened my inbox, and they were already there. Emails from longtime clients at Arcadia, my clients, asking if I was okay, if the rumors were true, if I was really leaving. I answered honestly, yes, I've left Arcadia. Yes, I'm with Freightwell now. And yes, we're happy to talk when you're ready. I didn't ask anyone to follow me. I didn't have to. Over the next 4 weeks, it happened like dominoes. West Rock gave notice first. Over $3.2 million in annual business. Then Alder Freight. Then Bristol. Each time I heard the same thing. We didn't trust the new leadership. We only stayed because of you. It wasn't just satisfying. It was devastating. For them. By week 6, Freightwell had absorbed 4 of Arcadia's top-tier clients. Jonas promoted me to Vice President of Client Strategy before I even had business cards printed. Samira became director under me. We built a new team from scratch. People who actually gave a damn. Then came the call I didn't expect. Brendan. He sounded smaller somehow. Hollow. Harper, he said. I assume you've heard. I'm stepping down, effective immediately. I said. Heard something about that. There's been fallout, he continued. The board wasn't pleased about the client losses. You don't say. And Erin? Legal is gone too. She apparently overstepped. Some calls she made weren't cleared. I said nothing. Just let him hang in the silence. I misjudged you, he finally said. We did. I'm not asking you to come back. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. You don't owe me an apology, I said quietly. You owe that to the team you gutted, the people you scared into silence. I just happened to be the one who walked out loud. And then I hung up. No anger, no gloating, just peace. 3 months later, Freightwell signed a multi-year exclusive contract with Bristol, worth $9.6 million. They put my name in the press release. Not Jonas's. Mine. And Mason? I pick him up from school almost every day now. We do his science projects at the kitchen table, not over Zoom. His latest headaches are under control, and for the first time in years, I don't dread checking our insurance portal. That's the real revenge, I think. Not the job title. Not the salary. Not even watching Arcadia eat its own tail. It's waking up in the morning knowing I have nothing to prove to people who never deserved me in the first place. People like to say business isn't personal. But it's always personal. Especially when they use you up and expect you to thank them for the privilege. I learned the hard way that loyalty should be mutual. If you're giving your time, your heart, your peace, it better be to something that gives a damn about you back. If you've ever been in a place like that, I hope this gave you a little clarity, or courage, or at least the feeling that you're not alone. And if you feel like sharing your story, I'd love to read it in the comments. Really, these things sit heavy when we carry them alone. And hey, if this hit close to home, feel free to stick around. I've got more to say.